Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pestana, and we're here today with special guest, Dr. Judith Orloff, who's here to share with us her new book, Affirmations for Empaths, a year of guided journaling. Now, many of you know Dr. Orloff. She's a leading voice in the field of medicine, psychiatry, empaths, and intuition development. A member of UCLA Psychiatric Clinical Staff, her best-selling books include The Empath Survival Guide, Thriving as an Empath, Emotional Freedom, Positive Energy, and Second Sight. She specializes in treating empaths and sensitive people in her private practice. So let's welcome to the show, Dr. Judith Orloff.
Thank you, Marianne. I'm happy to be on your show again.
Oh my goodness, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this new journal. I am so excited about this. What inspired you to write it?
Oh, I am such a big fan of affirmations in my life. As an empath, I've had to use all the tools that I can conjure to be able to stay healthy, happy, not absorb the energy of others, and be able to flourish in my empath abilities, which is what I want. I use my empath abilities with my psychiatric practice. I use them in my healing practice, in general. And so the affirmations help me stay in my best self. And they help me with anything that detracts me from staying there. And just the affirmations book is divided into different sections, depending on what section you would like to focus on. It's divided into 8 parts: treasuring yourself, nurturing your vitality, creating wellness, which is particularly important to me with my sensitive empath body, and I'll talk more about that, balancing emotions, building healthy relationships. That's a big one for empaths and everyone. Discovering purpose and work, honoring intuition, and finding sanctuary. Oh, which we empaths so need, sanctuary. It's where we can just let it all down and just totally relax and soak up the energy. And so I wrote the book because I wanted to share my affirmations with you that work for me as an empath in my life. And also to give you the opportunity to have a fun time. This isn't a book to deal with your shadow side necessarily. It's a book to uplift, to shed light, to find your best self. And that's okay sometimes. It's okay not to do the deep, dark work on yourself, although I'm a big fan of that too. But that is not what this book is. This book is about how can you lift yourself up, basically. So that's why I wrote it.
Well, I'm so glad you did. I found it to be extremely powerful. And I love how it will take us through an entire year because, gosh, we need that inspiration right now.
Our world is going through such an amazingly difficult time. And all of these culprits that are anti-empathy are all over the place, whether it be the narcissists, the sociopaths, the poor people who've been brought up with, really destructive belief systems and become bullies as adults. I mean, we have so many challenges that it's unbelievable, but everybody, I wouldn't be, too discouraged by them because the point is we have to be able to rise above everything. That's part of my Taoist practice is to, no matter what, it seems like everything's coming at you, and it really is, to practice these simple, my spiritual practice is simple. It's always come back to the heart. The heart is the only thing that keeps everyone sane. It keeps everyone being able to love each other to the best of our abilities. And this book will help you to find that empathy for yourself in the midst of crazy making chaos in the world. Yes, you can find it. Yes, it's not asking too much. And find the peacefulness and find a way to help yourself and others. One of my biggest challenges has been my body, my empath body, because it goes by different rules than other people's bodies who are not empaths. And I've come to accept that. So I go to part 3 of Affirmations for Empaths, creating wellness. And so I'll just share the first affirmation that you can work with. And you work with each one for a week and just go deeper, see what comes up and write in the journal about it. But the first one is, my natural empathy makes my body, mind, and spirit strong and resilient. My natural empathy makes my body, mind, and spirit strong and resilient. And let that sink in. That's for everybody who's suffering chronic pain. It's for everyone who's suffering a disease of any sort, or emotional ups and downs, or just questioning, yourself, or feeling overly sensitive. Our bodies need our love desperately as empaths. So the way you work with this is, my natural empathy makes my body, mind, and spirit strong and resilient. And then there are journal pages on the other side. And the first question on the journal page is, why is this affirmation important to me? And you could write about that or draw about that. The second question, what beliefs do I need to release to live this principle fully? That's always interesting to find out that, such as, I'm not healthy, or I'm weak, I'm too sensitive to be healthy. Those kinds of negative beliefs that aren't true. And then, as a sensitive person, how can my life specifically benefit from making this shift? So I'd like you to journal about those questions about the affirmation and see what you feel, see what you dream about the affirmation, see what ahas come just walking down the street. So that's how I suggest working with each affirmation. And there are 52, one for each week of the year.
For those people who are new to what an empath is, can you share a little bit about that with us?
I'd be happy to. An empath is somebody who is very, very sensitive and has a neurological and biochemical system that is much, much more sensitive than regular people's bodies. And as a result, we can sense what's going on in other people. We have strong intuition. We have a strong desire to connect to others, to help the world. We're very creative. We may be loners, or we may prefer to be around just a few people. Like I do, I don't like to be around big groups of people. It's just too much for me. It's overstimulating. And I love being around one person, two people. So empaths, sometimes like that smaller group connection, or just one-to-one connection, or connection with animals. And they often like to take their own car places, if you have cars where you live, so you can leave when you please and you're not stuck anywhere. Because empaths, like for me, going to social situation, I'll go, if I get a yes on going, I'll go and stay at the most an hour, hour and a half, and then I leave, because usually it's just too much talking. As much as I have a good time, I want to go home. So empaths, I'm just telling you this, these are often traits of an empath. And if you want to take the 20-question self-assessment test to find out how much of an empath you are, it's in my foundational book, The Empath Survival Guide. The Empath Survival Guide. So the downside of being an empath is that because we're so sensitive, that we might tend to take on the stress or emotions of other people or the world into our own bodies. So we become emotional sponges, which can be exhausting. It can lead to sensory overload, where too much is coming at you too fast. You may be a target for narcissistic people because of your giving heart. And the narcissistic people, sociopathic people, have what's called empathy deficient disorder, meaning they don't have the empathy necessary to care about or love you unconditionally. But that's a whole other topic in the book. You have to, as an empath, learn to overcome the challenges. And yes, there are challenges, but do not be deterred. No, I just want to offer my hand to you, my guidance, what I've learned throughout a lifetime of being an empath to you. And there's a path, there's a way to flourish and come together. Let me tell you, there's so many empaths around the world. My God, I get all kinds of communications from empaths from every little nook and corner of this globe. Hi, I'm an empath in Tasmania. Hi, I'm an empath in Siberia. Great. I know it. And my love goes out to you. But you're not alone, is the message. You're not alone. There's so many of us.
And for those people who don't know if they're empath or not, this book would probably be really good for them too, right?
Oh, yes. This is a gentle entryway. The Affirmations for Empaths book is a gentle entryway into your sensitive nature. And it's a way to just gently understand yourself. The message is there's nothing wrong with you. Never has been. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm sorry you were hurt and that people weren't there to support you. There's so many of us who are alone and not supported. But you can turn it around and you can make empathy and being an empath a huge gift in your life and increase the quality of your life, the quality of your love, the quality of your giving. So you don't overgive so much, you exhaust yourself. Empaths tend to do giving to an extreme. They want to give, help when it's too much. So they have to learn. Part of the empath training is learning how to balance everything.
And that's such an important piece. I know I've learned so much from your book, the one we talked about last time, the Empath Survival Guide, that's got so much great information in it. And that's why I was so excited to see Affirmations for Empaths. And it has me thinking, as empaths are out there and we're overdoing it and we're helping everybody, what are some ways that we can nurture ourselves?
Well, first of all, that is the big question. And that is the question everybody, all of us out there need to contemplate every day. The first thing we can do is to just make sure we have some quiet time during the day. I know everyone's busy and everyone has a to-do list and they're parents with children who are, they're running ragged trying to take good care of everybody, and there are all kinds of issues out there. But you can just take even 30 seconds, even a minute to pause. The sacred pause is what I call it. It's just stop, decrease your stimulation level. Take a breath. Bring your energy back in your body so it's not dispersed all over the place or stuck up in your head, which is not a good place for it to be. You want to have the quiet time out. Let me come back to myself and my relationship to spirit and my relationship to nature. Just sit on the ground. Do something very simple to recalibrate yourself, because then as an empath, you're less likely to burn out. And so taking that quiet time is an extremely important way to slow everything down, quiet everything down, connect to yourself again, connect to you, not everyone else that you're helping, not all your coworkers, not all your friends who are going through issues, but it's a way to connect to yourself. It's a way to treasure yourself. That's the first section of this book, Affirmations for Empaths. It's one of the affirmations is, as I grow as an empath, I treat myself with a little more kindness every day. I am enough right now, and I always have been. So when you take your mini break, you can whip out this affirmations book and say to yourself, as I grow as an empath, I treat myself with a little more kindness every day. I am enough right now, and I always have been. And I suggest repeating that at least 3 times, because you want the affirmation to go from your linear mind into your subconscious mind so it sticks. And repetition is the key to that. So if you repeat it at least 3 times in each sitting, as many times during the day as you want. I mean, how much time will it take you to say, as I grow as an empath, I treat myself with a little more kindness every day. I am enough right now, and I always have been. Take a breath, feel yourself. I am enough, and I always have been. And then go about your business with that healing break in the midst of your business. It makes a huge difference.
Well, you touched on something I think everybody has, is that I'm not good enough, I'm not enough. I've heard that from men trying to get that kind of information, that kind of credibility from their fathers, and women. And it's just very interesting how most of us are walking around with that.
I think so. I think it's a human nature. Unless you are one of the rare ones who've gotten incredible parenting, where people or parents have seen you with a capital S and supported your sensitivities. You're with the rest of us who haven't been parented that way. And so as a result of many, many reasons, we grow up feeling that there's something wrong with our sensitivity. I grew up believing I should be ashamed of it because my parents were just so upset every time I said something. I would have a sense about a person coming over for dinner, and I'm not comfortable with that person. That's a simple intuition. I'm not comfortable. Well, why aren't you comfortable? Why do you say these negative things about my friends? I don't want you to express this anymore. And so as a child, I learned to keep it in, not speak about it. And that's really not good. I'm sure there have been, throughout the eons, all the seers and the empaths have been told to not speak. Our voices have been taken away from us. And that's why I feel so strongly about my mission with empaths now, is I want to give you permission to find your voice, to speak up, to know there's nothing wrong with you. There never has been anything wrong with you, but you just have to learn how to embrace your empath nature and deal with the challenges and not let anyone keep you down, because people have all kinds of opinions about how you should be. And you need to really learn this so you're not so vulnerable to other people's opinions, because they never stop. People, I can't tell you all throughout the years, starting with my parents and going on to, other people. And since my books have come out, their opinions about being an empath and fitting in and maybe going down more the middle road rather than the side road. And I've always gone down the windy path away from the middle road. And I love that. I love that about myself. And if that's you too, then I hope you can love it about yourself too. And so you feel like you're not enough, that's fine. But part of the growth path is realizing you are enough. So feeling you aren't enough isn't the end point. It's the starting point.
I love that. I just love that. And I can imagine, just also as a doctor, just the feedback that you would get from other medical professionals as you've been on this path. But my goodness, now you're advising doctors on how to be more intuitive.
Now I am. Yeah. At this point I've been on the journey for, I think 30 years. But certainly in the beginning, when my first book, Second Sight, came out, I was scared to death about what my doctor peers would think. But at this point, I'm honored to say I supervise a psychiatric resident at UCLA who wants to learn about all this, wants to incorporate it into her traditional training with patient care. How incredible is that? Really useful in medicine to have an education about empaths. It's necessary. There's so many of us out there. And so I give empathic healing workshops. I give empathy trainings at businesses, to help them develop leadership empathy. And empathy just in how you treat yourself in the workplace, it can make a huge, huge, huge difference in how people relate. Because if you feel that somebody doesn't see you, doesn't really care about your opinion, and it's not going to help anything in a relationship or in the workplace or in a family, we all want to be seen. We want to be heard. We're sensitive, loving people. We want to be embraced for that, as we should. We should be, as it's a beautiful thing. And so, I'm at a point in my life now, where I can write a book on affirmations for empaths. And, whereas in the beginning when I started, I was so afraid to write anything, because I was afraid of what my peers would think. I was afraid of being mocked. I was afraid of what my parents would think. I had a big list of fears, which I had to let go of once the second sight came out. That was my personal memoir and how I integrate intuition into medicine. And the reason it was easier for me, you all have made it easier for me, in terms of accepting myself, because the minute I started speaking to groups and I saw the ahas that went off in people's faces, and I saw the gratitude, and I saw, oh my God, I have a path now. I have a place to go. I have a way to deal with this. That helped me overcome my fears. So the joys and the service and that what I saw was happening was larger than my fears. So I just want to tell you, every one of you who's afraid to come out, with your sensitivities, or afraid about any of your sources of power, it will be a guiding force for you if you can trust it. But if you just stay stuck in the fears and too afraid to come out, you'll be depriving the rest of us of your support and wisdom. We need you. The world obviously needs you. So affirmations or empaths can help you get over your fears and take a little step forward, with me, and know that, Marianne is here, I'm here. And the more you learn about this, you realize how many people are here and having similar experiences.
You are not alone, for sure.
No, you're not. And I just want to say to everyone out there, I am so sorry you were hurt. No, I'm so sorry you weren't seen and appreciated and supported as a child. And I just want to personally apologize for all those people who hurt you, who couldn't apologize, because you deserve it. You deserve to have somebody say that. And I'm sorry that you were mistreated. And I hear you and I see you. So I just want to add that for everyone.
Well, thank you. I know that was so heartfelt. And a lot of times people just don't have the capacity to even come and say, hey, I'm sorry I did this to you. So I'm sure a
No.
lot of people find a place of healing from that. So thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are so afraid, and they have so many issues themselves. They're not able to say, I'm sorry. And it's sad. It's really sad, but they aren't able to, for better or for worse. That's just what is. So I say it for them. And I feel okay about doing that too.
Well, and so let's talk about affirmations. So why are affirmations like a powerful, tool for change?
Affirmations, I love them because they're simple, quick, and effective ways to stay in your best self and reframe unproductive thoughts. I'm reading from the intro. I use them personally and recommend them to my patients. Affirmations are potent tools that can radically enhance the quality of your life. This is important. Affirmations are not meant to emotionally bypass difficult feelings or sugarcoat hurt with inspiring words. I hope you all realize that. They are positive statements to counter fear, self-doubt, anxiety, and negative stories that replay in your mind. Affirmations help you reprogram outdated beliefs, and they are energy shifters. Words and beliefs contain energy. Affirmations let you say no to what beliefs are not being of service to you. All right. So you're not spiritually bypassing, you're not emotionally bypassing. You're just using another tool of shifting energy with words and beliefs to add to all your other tools. So you can go forth and do all the shadow work you want at another point. I totally support you. That just isn't really what this is, unless it brings you there. I mean, this might bring you to shadow work. I don't know, but it's just a simple book. This is a simple, positive, uplifting, fun book for you to read, write, and affirm what you most want in yourself. So don't make it too complicated. I made it simple on purpose.
Thank goodness for that. Everything's already too complicated. And I just have to tell you, your description about affirmations is probably the best one I've ever heard. Because a lot of times people think that affirmations are supposed to like cover up things feelings and emotions that they're not really dealing with. And I love your description of it.
Thank you. Yes, I know that. I know it. And they call it toxic positivity. As I've been on the book tour for this book, I've had to answer that question. I'm happy to answer that question as many times as people want to ask it. Isn't this toxic positivity? Didn't this go out of date with Louise Hay in the 80s, or whatever they say about it? And, my answer is absolutely not, at least not the way I teach it. I mean, if you're teaching affirmations as a way to sugarcoat your real emotions, I don't support that. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about affirmations. It can lift you up. It can create a better mindset. It can take the pressure off your overworked brain. All right. You're not glossing over anything. You'll deal with other things at another point. But they're different modalities, different psychiatric or psychological or energetic modalities have different points. All right. And this isn't to gloss over all the issues you need to work with over a lifetime. This is to help you get to a better place and strengthen you so that you have the wherewithal to deal with whatever issues you have to deal with and also have a good time in life. This book will help you have a better time in life, and that's important. It will help you enjoy the moment more because you'll be able to say an affirmation which immediately lifts you out of this dark hole, if you're in a dark hole, and brings you up into the light. That's pretty nice, and it really does work. And no matter what your mind is saying about it, just do it. Just do it. Don't argue. I know people argue themselves out of doing the things that are so good for them. The mind always has some reason, but don't let it deter you. I love the mind. I love the analytic mind. I use it all the time. As a physician, I just love it. But when it comes to affirmations, it's not really the primary role for it. This is the realm of the heart. This is the realm of loving yourself, cutting yourself a break, lifting yourself up, and learning the skills of lifting yourself up. Very important. You must learn to lift yourself up. I mean, other people who are supportive, loving friends can help you, but they're not always around. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. in the morning and you're just sinking into the pit again. So you need a quick, positive, loving remedy to get you out of the pit. All right. And this Affirmations for Empath books, if you keep it by your bed, just say, oh my God, I just had, I'm sinking into the pit again. Let me just turn to a page, any page, and read it. And then what I got was, when I did that, the affirmation, whatever the situation, I know I can rely on my inner guidance to find the best solution. Whatever the situation, I know I can rely on my inner guidance to find the best solution. So the way it looks is that you wake up, you're anxious, you're swirling around in some negative state. You reach over to Affirmations for Empaths. You open it up. you get this affirmation, whatever the situation, I know I can rely on my inner guidance to find the best solution. So you're given a path, right? You're given a path, and suddenly you're not just swirling, you know what you need to do. So I love that.
Well, I love how you talk about how our words and beliefs contain energy. And that's something that I believe science has come to a point where they've proven how our beliefs and our words really do impact our lives.
Yeah, they do. Just try it out. Tell yourself you're a horrible person and you aren't worth anything. And then versus tell yourself, I'm an incredible person who's learning and loving and opening, and I honor myself. Just feel the two different resonances in your body. You'll get it. It's not hard to tell the difference.
At the beginning of our conversation, you talked about creating wellness. And I think that's a place where a lot of people struggle, especially if they're empaths, because they feel like they're carrying other people's energy. So, how do they get to a place where they're able to not do that?
Yeah, and it's important to be able to get to a place where you don't do that, at least more and more. And the wellness part is the most meaningful part of the book to me because I've had such struggles, learning to be in my body. It might sound, you might not have thought about it that way, but as a soul, as a sensitive person, learning to be in this body, which doesn't always obey the rules of traditional medicine, it has sensitivities. And it does things that medicine sometimes says you can't do. If it allows me to feel things and know things and take on other people's beautiful, positive energy and also the opposite. And so I listen to my body every day because it changes every day. And I embrace my body, but it's something I have to attend to all the time, not obsessively. But if I'm, for instance, just a simple example, if I'm tired, I have to rest, unless it's an unusual circumstance where I have to push through, which I don't like, and I pay the price of that. But I will if I have to. But just my body needs to rest. Just take 5 minutes. Just lie down. Close your eyes. Just that helps me. Or if I go into a room and my body is telling me, I'm not liking the energy here. I don't like being here. Do I need to stay here for 2 hours because I committed myself to it? I don't. No, I won't. I'll leave. But that's just me. I'm used to it. I've had a lot of years of doing this. As I know what happens when I subject my body to an energy I don't like. But let's say I'm with I don't know, this hasn't happened, but if I'm with my partner and we're somewhere with his people and his friends and his business associates, and I'm uncomfortable, what would I do if I, was in that situation? I would probably stick it out for a little bit longer, just in honoring him, but I would leave and I would go to the bathroom at the very least so I could just take a break. But my body senses energy, and empath's body sense energy. And what you might get caught in with people is if they, with empaths, everybody also tells you their problems. As you wear an invisible sign that says, I can help you. And, people can see it from far and wide. It's a sign, it's invisible, but you could be anywhere and someone will start up. And that's it's been a big challenge for me. So that's why I practice a lot of protection techniques, a lot of centering, a lot of boundaries, being able to say no to people if they start up with their life stories, because I really don't want to hear it. If I'm, say in an airport, I don't want someone, I'm not interested. I need to just be with myself, and so I've learned to set healthy boundaries with that, with a very nice tone of voice and nice eye energy. Because if your eyes look kind and your tone of voice isn't snippy, I just say things like, this is really time for me to be quiet. So I just need to be quiet now rather than listen. Thank you for understanding. To the stranger who will come up to you and start up with their whole medical saga. And they don't know I'm a psychiatrist. They don't know I'm an empath. They just know I'm sitting there minding my own business. But I tell you this because as an empath, they spot you. And you have to be prepared, to say a loving no. That's really important. And that will help you not absorb the energy of others. Because the downside of being an empath is that you feel like you need to help the world. You feel like you need to help everybody who comes to you for help. And I'm telling you, I understand your impulse, but it's just not possible. It's not possible and it's not healthy. You'll just burn yourself out. Just try and help the ones you love if they allow it. A lot of times people you love don't want any help. That for me as a physician, who is I can do, and I have all these quote great solutions, which I think I do, but sometimes people aren't interested. What's interesting is I'm like, what? And I have to let it go and stop trying to fix everyone and help everyone. And it's just too much. It's too exhausting. So as an empath, you need to learn to rein that in a little bit. Focus on helping yourself. That's what empaths have the hardest time with, is learning to heal yourself and learning to be kind to yourself. That's what this Affirmations book is about. Focus on yourself rather than all the suffering people out there, because, everybody's suffering to some degree, some more than others, but you have to get used to that suffering and send people positive energy. You can send little blessings. Just you see somebody, let's say you're in the market. A lot of these things happen in the market for me. You pass by somebody, oh, that hurts. It feels like they're going through a hard time. It just feels like an energy. And so I take a breath. I come to my heart. I go, namaste. I respect the spirit within you, and keep shopping and forget about them. No, but that little blip of positive energy does a lot of good. And it allows me to keep moving on too. It's something really simple you can do without getting so overly involved with their particular cause of suffering. You see, so I hope that's clear to everybody. You can give a lot with a little blip of love.
Oh, I'm sure that means so much. I've heard many of my friends saying that the pandemic's been a real grateful thing, but it's so hard for them, because of the solitude, but it's so hard for them to integrate into society again because they've become so hypersensitive.
That's true. That's a good point. All the empaths that I've been dialoguing with them, over the pandemic, and I have it's called Dr. Judith Orloff's Empath Support Community on Facebook, where I've had it has over 21,000 empaths on it. If you think you're alone, you're not. But the dialogue of what during the pandemic, we were all together, on the site for the pandemic, and on the one hand, it offered us peace and quiet, and nature got quiet for a while. On the other hand, it really caused some people's sensitivities to just skyrocket, and sometimes it's hard to reintegrate into the world, which is what I'm experiencing now, because I feel utter ecstasy when, at this point, when I'm able to go out in the world and have dinner with a friend and not feel like there's COVID all around, if I'm in a safe outdoor environment where I feel good. It's just regular things of life that were taken away from me and from us during COVID. The little things I do, it's just ecstatic bliss for me, because I did feel lonely during the pandemic, even though I was blessed to live with a partner who's supportive. And, I still felt I miss the everyday socializing things, not big things. I don't miss the concerts or the stadiums, nothing like that. But I miss the dinners. I miss the hugs. I missed, the walks down the street, although I did a lot of walks in the pandemic. So it's for me, it's a new kind of ecstasy to reappreciate the simple things of life when you can go out and even have a bit of socializing.
Do you think maybe the hypersensitivity that some people are feeling is a call for them to really start working on themselves?
If they want to, if they're moved to. The thing about being an empath and empathy is you have to be attracted to it. There's this kind of global call. We need to all work on ourselves. And my deep feeling is that, empathy isn't something you have to do. You could stay in the state you're in and God bless you. You don't have to change. But if you want to improve your life, if you want to have more fun and have more freedom in terms of who you are as an empath, it's really useful to begin to open to the idea of learning self-care strategies to help you. But it's work, that a call to work on yourself. I don't know. It's tricky because I've never wanted to convince anybody of anything. The working on yourself part is something that is entirely internally motivated. And if you feel a call to expand, then yes, definitely. If you feel that you're trying to please someone else to do it, maybe. But if you don't want to do it and you just, for whatever reason, people are telling you to work on yourself, just don't do it. If you know what I mean. It's not that kind of thing. Empathy isn't that kind of thing. We have to force yourself.
Yeah, you have to go and work on yourself indefinitely. I can see where it's a very much just an inner calling. Either you're feeling moved to do it, or maybe now's the time to take a break.
And maybe get the affirmations book and don't work on yourself so deeply. This book, unless it turns into that for you, this book is not about doing deep, dark, shadow trauma work. That's not what this book is about. It's about uplifting yourself and giving yourself permission just to do that. You see, if other things arise as a result of I can't do this because I just had a flashback of trauma where my parents punished me every time I did it, of course you're going to want to explore that when you're ready. But generally, when you work on this book, it's a light book. It's hard, it's kind of hard for people to accept because, they're so used to these, you got to work on yourself and go deep, deep, deep. This is more of a light, uplifting book. It's a one particular tool set. All right. Affirmations are one particular tool set to uplift you. And if you can just accept that, you can have a lot of fun with this and start to feel really uplifted if that's what you can do. Sometimes that's hard for empaths to do, as they tend to get a little overly serious, and fun for fun's sake, sometimes gets swept to the side. So I'm bringing it more to the forefront.
Well, I know we've covered so much, and yet at the same time, we haven't even covered a small portion of what's in your book, Affirmations for Empaths. Is there a tool that you can give us that we could start using right now, start using today as we go along our day?
I empower myself as an empath every time I decrease stimulation in the face of sensory overload. That's a tool for empaths. That's an affirmation you can practice. I empower myself as an empath every time I decrease stimulation in the face of sensory overload. All right, so it's kind of self-care tip, and it's an affirmation all rolled into one.
So, how do affirmations help us build healthy relationships?
Oh, a big challenge for empaths is being in, let's say, intimate relationships. Friendships are a bit easier, but let me go to intimate relationships because they can be a real challenge. It's very important if you're in, if you have a spouse, if you have a partner, if you have a good friend, you have to learn how certain tools, such as setting limits with them, such as claiming your alone time, such as stating your needs when you feel overwhelmed. No, you have to really begin to speak up as an empath so that the person knows what's going on. Because I've worked with couples. One is an empath and one isn't. And the one who isn't has no idea what an empath is often. And so there has to be an education process going on that is compassionate on your part. So you just don't feel bad that he or she doesn't understand your deepest nature. Because sometimes non-empaths, if you take the alone time and say, honey, I need to go off into my room and shut the door, they might feel personally neglected or like they did something wrong. You see, and you have to explain to them they're being your champion by supporting this kind of an action. And they have done something right. And to give them a lot of affirmation when it comes to that. So you have to learn how to educate your mates sometimes. All right. They're not automatically going to be right there with you in this. I've had couples read the Empath Survival Guide together, just short bits of it where, let's say that whatever partner is reading it, they read it aloud and then they talk about it and they say, this is how it relates to me as an empath, and this is how you can really support me. So it's a way of integrating them in the process as opposed to making them a villain because they don't understand you at this moment. So that's a key for intimate relationships. And then with family, relatives, there's always the question of, my family is not respecting me. My family doesn't care if I'm an empath. My family is a bunch of narcissists and sociopaths. And it could be. I don't know. But in those cases, you have to develop a self-care strategy. You have to say to yourself, all right, these people lack empathy. I'm not going to go to them with my heart. I'm not going to tell them my deepest struggles and just hope beyond hope that they're going to understand me, because they won't. These people will probably never understand me. And so I have to take, as unfair as that is, I have to take a stance to lower my expectations. And, let's say don't sit next to a narcissist in a family dinner, sit down the table and just do little things and big things to take care of yourself in relationships. And don't try and overhelp all your family members, because you can help to a certain degree with certain people, but you don't want to get too over involved. You want to rather have the communication, I know you can handle it. This is really hard, and I know you can handle it, rather than micromanaging. Empaths tend to micromanage, want to do something, let's say for their kids or their spouse. They want to get overly involved, and that gives the impression that you're infantilizing them and that they can't do it themselves. But these are some of the nuances you need to learn as being an empath. And so if relationships are what's up for you, you go right to the relationship section in Affirmations for Empaths and just start with one affirmation at a time. No, that's all. Go slow. No, I do not encourage you to go fast with this. Go very slow. Be a turtle. Learn it little by little.
Well, Dr. Judith, I've heard rumors that you have a great workshop coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's an online workshop, so it's global, and it's learning self-care techniques for empaths. It's on December 6th. It's a 2-hour workshop, and it's put on by the Infinity Foundation, a great group in Chicago. And you can find out about signing up and find out more about the workshop on my website, which is drjudithorloff.com. And just go to my lecture schedule. And then maybe you could put the link to the workshop on your write-up.
We will definitely have it there. Well, Dr. Judith, where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Yes, it's all on my website, www.drjudithorloff.com. All kinds of information, sources about empaths, everything you'll probably ever need is right there. So I invite you to my website and to my empath community. We're welcoming you. I'm welcoming you, and I'm so happy to know all of you. And it's a beautiful show that you have.
Well, Dr. Judith, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
You're very welcome.
Well, thank you, Dr. Judith Orloff. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Affirmations for Empaths, a year of guided journaling. If you'd like to pick up a copy of Affirmations for Empaths, you can at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember to support our indie bookstores. So we're going to pause here for a quick moment, and we'll be right back after this message. I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.